number 5 and lecture number 2. Hello friends, welcome to week number 5, and during this week we will be generally discussing about stress and burnout management. So, in our first lecture, let us define stress and burnout, and thereafter we will go ahead. First part is, what is stress? Now, stress, all of us generally we have, almost all of us, starting with a child to an elderly person, we have certain types of stress. We call it stress scientifically, otherwise normal people they say tension. Life is not tension free at all. So, let us see what is stress as per dictionary. A force exerted when one body or body part presses on, pulls on, pushes against, or tends to compress or twist another body or body part, especially the intensity of this mutual force commonly expressed in pounds per square inch. The deformation caused in a body by such a force, that is also called stress. A physical, chemical or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and may be a factor in disease causation called stress. Stress, a state of bodily or mental tension resulting from factors that tend to alter an existing equilibrium. The force exerted between teeth of the upper and lower jaws during mastication, that is when you are chewing, some sort of force is being applied, that is also called a stress. This is the general definition what dictionary people are talking about. We are basically now in this part of our course, that is the basic certificate in palliative care, we are related with this, the forces exerted on us by physical and emotional factors on our body. Another normal scientific definitions which people have given out, Hans Sally in 1956, he said stress is a response called the general adaptation syndrome. On one side we have got demands, and to meet the demands we have got certain resources. When demands are increasing, we are supposed to increase the resources, but it does not happen. We cannot go beyond a particular limit. Like our monthly income is about 30,000 rupees, that means whatever demand we have from family side should not exceed 30,000 rupees per month. That includes food, shelter, education, petrol, everything. If petrol goes costly, monthly expenditure increases, but the pay is stagnant. Stagnant, I mean to say, it doesn't increase that way. It increases gradually and generally annually. But demands are increasing because of inflation and other things. Children are growing up. Earlier they were in primary school, then high school, then college, fees are going up. So, how do we adapt to this? When demands are increasing, we need to increase our resources. If possible, then your wife will also start working so that your income will increase. But in normal circumstances, this does not happen. So, here what happens, there is a demand for more money and income is less. So, that will be called economical stress. It is a stress regarding shortage of money. But mind you, my dear friends, after 1 or 2 months, this stress will be transferred to psychological stress. Now the family and particularly the parents are thinking about it, what to do, and they do not find any path from where they can get the money. And money doesn't grow on the trees, otherwise we can just climb up the trees and take out the money, but it's not possible. It's difficult to adopt. This is one question. Another, anywhere situation changes, every situation is different. Luckily, we human beings are adaptable to different types of situation, but sometimes we do not adapt, and then what happens? Tension, stress. So this particular stress, hence Sally said, it is a general adaptation syndrome. Stress comes up when we are unable to adapt to the present situation. Stress can also be defined a failure to adapt. It occurs when the environmental or internal demands exceed an individual's resources to adapt. Lazarus and Lunier, 1978. Stress may be an internal state which can be caused by physical demands on the body or by environmental or social situation which are evaluated as potentially harmful and uncontrollable. Social situations also, daughter is supposed to get married. Now in your society, normally average person spends about 10 lakh rupees. What do you do when you do not have 10 lakh rupees? So that is again a social situation which demands a particular expenditure on marriage ceremony, but you do not have at all. So there are so many factors: social, economical, environmental, educational, professional, where demands are rising, but the resources to cope up with these demands are not rising, and that is where the stress comes up. These are some of the definitions which have been given out by scientists. Now I just give you a model of stress, very simple model. One side, it is you are here, you have got certain sources, you have got certain relaxation skills also. Now it is basically between these two, how you balance. These sources are demands. How do you meet these demands? If you meet these demands, then you are a balanced personality. But sometimes it is not possible to balance. Then the demands from all these stressful sources goes up. Relaxation skills, whatever you have, comes down, and therefore sign of stress goes up. In a different way, if you have got more relaxation skills, more resources to meet the demands, then stress decreases, and it decreases to this level where you find lots of happiness. Oh my God, life is tension free. Life is just tension free, you know. So basically it is a tussle between demands and resources, demands and certain relaxation skills what you have, and the management of these two depends what and how you manage can be a cause of stress. Now, which are the forces involved in stress? Stress is caused by interaction between situational, personal, biological factors, and the general effect of situation varies, include firstly duration. If you experience a particular stress for longer duration, the intensity of stress is more. If it comes and goes, there is no problem. Severity, what sort of stress is there? It is so severe, like somebody falls sick, he needs immediate hospitalization, medical expenses increases to 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees, like that, severe. How to manage, where to generate such a huge amount, and particularly for a middle class family to generate rupees 10 lakh is just impossible. Predictability, if something is predictable, yes, we can do some sort of savings, and that is what we do in India. Most of the people, they do say, my mother used to tell me, कि whatever you earn, 10% it should be used for seva, service, donation. 20% to be saved for future contingencies. This is, we call it unpredictable as well as predictable situation, and the balance 70% to be used for monthly expenditure. So now the 20% what you are saving in your banks is for unpredictable situation as well as predictable situation. And what are the predictable situation? It is educational fees, you want to build or buy a new home, and maybe certain retirement securities. It includes the marriages of the children, because marriage in our society in India, it's a very huge ceremony. People take pride, and therefore these are the eventualities, these are the predictable things. Home, education of children, and marriage of children. These three things are always predictable, because this is what we require, and therefore we need to save the money. Controllability, most of the factors are not within our control. Home you need, of course you may not buy a huge bungalow of 1 crore or 2 crores rupees, but you need a home, you need money. Education is getting expensive day by day. Similarly, some hospitalization, yes. Marriages, again, year by year they will go expensive. You may not believe in dowry system, this or that, but certain social expenditure have to occur. So most of the things are uncontrollable. I mean to say, some minimum amount you have to do, and suddenness of onset. Suddenness, I mean to say, all of a sudden certain things come up. Whatever has been predictable, like education, buying of home, marriages of children, predictable because it depends as per the age, that is what we plan. But sickness and terrible sickness, what do? It comes all of a sudden. So these 5 factors, when they get involved in that demand from outside, our stress increases. In 1915, fine, and this is one of the earliest definition, and it is basically based upon our ancient state of affairs of human beings when we are staying in jungles. Thousands of years back, we are not civilized in the sense that the way we are staying in houses, and we have got lots of traffics and educations and other things. Those things were not there. There was not even a proper society also. They used to stay in jungles, and jungles, I mean to say, there were so many wild animals. So what do? Either they used to fight against the wild animals, otherwise they used to carry off from there, flight, run away. So this particular thing was there earlier, and it is still inbuilt in our minds, either fight or flight. This was given by Cannon. Bodily changes in pain, hunger, fear and rage, an account of recent researches into the function of emotional excitement. When a man gets emotionally excited, he finds so many bodily changes. Pain increases, hunger increases, fear, rage. And this was the concept, basically we got it from animals, react to threat by a discharge in the nervous system. And this is what we are doing actually in earlier stages. thousands of years back. General adaptation syndrome, a response of the body to demands placed upon it. The syndrome details how stress induces hormonal autonomic responses, and over time these hormonal changes can lead to ulcers, high blood pressures, atherosclerosis, arthritis, kidney disease and allergic reactions. Stress in the 21st century, century. This is where the patient says, "Doctor, I am tired all the time." Similarly, doctor is also tired sitting in the chair. Stress. A question might come to you, can we become tension free? Can we become stress free? Yes, you can become stress free. In fact, all of us become stress free when we die. When we die, there is just no tension at all. Tension is there amongst our relatives or friends. They weep, they cry, and they go through the process of bereavement and grief. But otherwise, the person who is dead, there is just no tension at all. Contrary to public opinion, we must not and indeed cannot avoid stress. Stress will be there, but we can meet it efficiently and enjoy it by learning more about its mechanism and adjusting our philosophy of life accordingly. This is what we are doing now. Stress, by the way, let me tell you, there is a positive stress also and there is a negative stress also. Positive stress, it pulls you upward. In our language, it is called eustress. And negative stress, which pulls you downwards and creates psychological distress, that is called distress. What is positive stress? Eustress. A child has to appear in standard 10 exam, and this is the first time that he is going to appear for a board exam, so he is really concerned how much to study, how much marks he will be able to score, whether after 10th he will be able to take science subjects or humanity subjects or commerce subjects. This is all, there are so many questions nowadays which a child has to face. So this generates sort of stress, but this stress is positive. If this stress is not there, the child will not study further. He will not take interest in the studies because of this particular stress that he has to do well. If he wants to go up in his life, he wants to acquire a good job, or if he wants to start a new business, if he wants to become a doctor or engineer, he has to undergo this particular stress. So if he wants to go upwards in his life, he has to undergo certain stress, and that is eustress. This is, there are many factors. A father has to work very hard. He has to work very hard because he has to meet the demands of the family. Resources need to be increased. So this is again eustress. This stress is very important for the developmental stage of our life, but other stresses are not good and they are distress. Now let us see, certain stresses can be seen and certain stresses cannot be unseen. The stress system: hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Here you get increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, pain and discomfort, anxiety, and on and on. There are so many of them. You have gone for a picnic somewhere nearby jungle, and automatically sometimes you just wander into jungle, and then thereafter you find a wild animal and he is running towards you, and just see what will happen. fight or flight syndrome, you can't fight against maybe a tiger or maybe a lion or maybe anything, something bigger than you. So you run to save your life from that animal. And that is where a stress system, your whole body comes under stress, biological, chemical, and this whole things happen into your body. Blood pressure increases, heart rate increases, you feel pain, lots of discomfort because you are running very fast. Anxiety, you don't know whether you will be saved or not. Similarly, in brain also certain mental activity can lead to changes in the brain. Dendritic remodeling and stress exposure, the hippocampus, memory impairment, the prefrontal cortex, executive functioning, the amygdala, anxiety and hypertrophy, more to be learned about the adolescent brain also. Stress, good, bad and chronic. Tell me out of this. Number one, let's see this is 1, this is number 2 and number 3. Let's take number 1. They are in the sky, free dropping. We can see the things down below. What sort of stress is this? They are under stress. But this is good stress because they are doing it, they enjoy such adventurous activities. They want to do it more and more. It's a matter of thrill for them. It's risky. But they have taken this particular risk because they get lots of fun and enjoyment out of it. Now come to number 3. This a chap in jungle, rhino is just running behind him. So what sort of stress is this? He is not enjoying, he wants to save his life. All of a sudden, he just went in there inadvertently and the rhino came across and the person is just running away. So this is a bad stress. And now number 3, this is chronic, and most of us generally remain busy in mobile. Mobile or cell you call it, very good. Easy transfer of messages, sometimes it's handy also. Easily rechargeable, and thanks to Reliance, very, very cheap. Let me tell you, it's the cheapest mobile communication what we have in India. It is good, but it has produced now chronic stress. People are busy while walking on the road, while driving, they are making use of mobiles, and lots of accident takes place. And just people cannot live it. It has become chronic. The number of cases have happened when parents say something to adolescent children, please don't use mobiles, or they snatch away the mobiles. Children have committed suicide also. It's a chronic stress which we should try and avoid, but people do not avoid. So here there are simple pictures showing you, explaining you what is a good stress, what is a bad stress, and what is a chronic stress. Chronic stress and smartphones and tablets and any mobile devices, they can become a chronic stress. You cannot live without them. You can live without food, you can live without sleep, but you cannot live without mobiles. Let's study the history so that we understand what is stress in detail. In 1966, Donna Badian He said quality of services is directly related to work satisfaction. If you provide good services, you will have good output. In 1970, McGrath said, define the term work stress. Stresses are like educational stress. Even wife at home, she is also stress because she does lot of work. In fact, she is a home manager, and that manager is doing everything. She is the chef, cooking, cleaning the utensils. She is a washerwoman. She washes the clothes plus iron them also. She is a housekeeper. She cleans, she mops the whole house, makes the beds and everything. She does all sort of payments, electricity bills, TV bill, this and that, she is an accountant. So, that is a stress what a wife undergoes. Similarly, the working people, they go under a stress in their factories or offices, that is called work stress. In 1974, Freudenberger talks of work disease and burnout syndrome, which we found more frequent in healing professionals. After this stress is a higher state. When you go up and a prolonged stress, that becomes burnout. 1982, Maslow's defined burnout syndrome by 3 characteristics known as Maslow's burnout inventory, MBI, and is considered the gold standard. Emotional exhaustion. Depersonalization means what? We have become mechanic people. There is no personal affinity between us. We do not consider each other as a human being, as a part of society. We are working just mechanically. We do our work by clock. The way those needles move around, we also give the output. We generally do our work just like a machine. So, by doing such work, we have depersonalized ourselves. We do not have any emotional and social feeling with other people. Lack of personal fulfillment. You want to do something, but you can't do it, because you have to do a job also, you have to look after your family also. There is no time, there is no money to look out to go for your hobbies. Types of stressful situation. It can be any catastrophic, natural and man-made. Natural, we know, some jungle fire, some earthquake, tsunami, all this is all natural. And man-made, basically wars. Ukraine-Russians war, and now what is going on this year in 2023 is October 2023 is Israeli and Hamas. Who has created? God hasn't created it. We have created it. They are all man-made. Major life changes. You go to a college, you go to a hostel, you get a job, you get married. After marriage, you get children, you shift a new house. So many things. You change your city residence place. You are staying in city like Mumbai and then go to Kolkata or Delhi or something like that. Complete transfer. Work fatigue. Earlier the people used to work for 6 hours and 8 hours, and now you do not know. Everybody is working 10 hours, 10, 12 hours. And if you include the periods of travel to and fro, it will be much more. Chronic life strains. First major chronic life strain is meeting the demands. Resources are less and demands are increasing day by day. And small hassles. You go to bus stand and bus stand is gone. You go down, you want to go, you are going on a two-wheeler to your factory, and when you go down, you just see it's punctured. In the house also, gas is gone, cooking gas is exhausted. So small things keep coming, and they will keep coming. So these hassles come, stress increases. These three gentlemen, they got their own stress. General sources of stress: change in location, families and children, midlife crisis. What is a midlife crisis? It can be any. Children, they are grown up, they are into the job, some of them they have to get married, they also need a house, you need a house, and slowly you are also getting basically aged. Separation and divorce, adolescent children, bereavement and loss, financial difficulties, speaking in public. Some sources say that in America people, they are not afraid of death, but they are afraid of speaking in public. Americans, I am talking about, USA. So the same thing is here in India too. Becoming a parent, again it is a joy also, but at the same time we do not know. There are certain things, certain subjects are not being taught. We do graduation, post graduation, we do PhD and so many things, but certain subjects which are required, they are not being taught. How to communicate, how to look after yourself, self-care, how to find a girl in marriage, what a girl or boy should do after marriage, what should you do when you become a parent first time. So the simple subjects, of course we know, because we keep seeing it and from our observation, and sometimes our elders are talking, so we know it. But systematically if you study these subjects, I personally feel it will be very helpful to you. Caring for the elderly, menopause, andropause, extramarital affairs, examination stress, premenstrual syndrome, this is for the small child girl. Work stress is there, and equally important is life without work. There is no work at all, what will you do? And this happens particularly after retirement. Part 2. What is burnout? Stress, all of a sudden what happens when you blow the balloon so much, put so much of air into it, a time comes when it blows out. Otherwise also when you put a pin, again it just get burst out. Similarly, burnout is also the same thing. When stress becomes uncontrolled because you have not managed it, and for a long time, prolonged duration, you undergo stress, then the time comes that it is in a situation where it is going to be burnout totally. You are of no use after that. And then you keep crying, help, help, help. You are in a heap of such stress related work and pressures that neither you can come out nor anybody is going to help you out. What is burnout? Physical, emotional and mental. So three things. From all the three directions there is pressure onto you. Physical, emotional and mental exhaustion caused by long term involvement. Long term I am saying, and when long term comes, it is generally 5 years and more. Long term involvement in emotionally demanding situation. Emotionally demanding situation, I mean to say, there is a pressure that you got to fulfill those things, but you are unable to fulfill. Your son is very brilliant, you have put him in a good college, emotionally you know that you want him to study in that college. Fees are very high, demand is there which you can't afford, but what do? Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl. Yes, sometimes we do not have meaning and purpose. Of course, this is something very, it's like talking like a spiritual person, because for a normal man, what is the purpose of life for a normal man, for a middle man? What is the purpose of life? He is not a sant, he is not a guru or something. He doesn't want to achieve nirman. He has got a wife, he has got family, and his normal purpose in his life is just to earn some money, give good education to child so that he studies and goes up further in his life. This is normal purpose. And when he is trying to fulfill this small purposes, naturally he has to encounter so many difficulties and he comes under stress. He knows the higher purpose of life, that meaning he knows, but he is unable to accommodate that particular meaning in his present day life. What can he do? He got married, got wife, got children, and started going into that rut of social demands. So he just can't do anything. Stress and finally burnout. Upside is stress, and this is the burnout where snow is melting down. Burnout. Well, this is just going from bad to worse. Entering the middle, he doesn't know where he is going. So this is actually happening. Some of the stresses, we know that the situations are stressful, but really humankind, human beings, people are unable to pull them out. Social demands, emotional demands. Burnout, role overload, expectations of others exceed one's ability to perform. This normally happens in office environment, where your boss thinks that you should perform more and more. There are certain targets, monthly targets you must meet, and then role conflict, forced to make a choice about which demand to satisfy. Child soccer game versus staying late to see patient or a complete paperwork. This is for a doctor, whether he gives more time in a clinic or he goes out and see the child playing some sports in his school. It's a role conflict. Whether he wants to become a good father or doctor. Role conflict, and role conflict is happening every time. We always talk about life and work balance. I tell you, my dear friends, everybody wants to balance the life with the work environment. But sometimes it is just not possible, because there are demands, lots of demands on his work environment, in his office. His bosses, they are pressurizing to produce more and more hours, to sell more and more. He knows that I must spend more time with my children, they are studying, but again it is just not possible. So this is just the initial brief of stress and burnout, and in our other lectures we will get into the detail. Thank you, friends.